right, Shalom. This is Kyle again, here with another video covering another substance that can aid you in maintaining your health or taking back control of your health if you're already, kind of behind the eight ball, so to speak. This time I'm going to be talking about a substance named comfrey root. But before I get into it, I'm going to start it off with scripture. The same scriptures that I brought out last time apply here as well. Genesis 1:29. And the Most High said, Behold, I have given you every herb-bearing seed, which is upon the face of all the earth, and every tree, in the which is the fruit of a tree yielding seed. To you it shall be for meat. So again, just to reiterate, our medicines and things that we're supposed to be using to restore our health or to maintain our health are supposed to be substances that are natural from the earth. I do understand that, with us being in captivity right now, that's not an option for a lot of us, especially if you're like in a area that's pretty much classed as a food desert, or you might be in an area that's not only a food desert, but also the stores in your area don't really carry a lot of natural goods and produce. But just by knowing where to get some of these substances, you can, I guess, better adhere to this scriptural principle and look to the earth as your doctor. Not necessarily in a leadership sense where somebody's, taking charge of your health, but certainly for medicinal purposes. You can look toward natural sources. But either way, and the second scripture I brought out, Ezekiel 47:12, and by the river upon the bank thereof, on this side and on that side, shall grow all trees for meat, whose leaf shall not fade, neither shall the fruit thereof be consumed. It shall bring forth new fruit according to his months, because their waters they issued out of the sanctuary, and the fruit thereof shall be for meat, and the leaf thereof for medicine. So the Bible literally tells us where we're supposed to be getting our medicine. That's why the Bible also speaks about, these heathen nations being physicians of no value. I'll get that scripture later. As a matter of fact, I'm going to pull it up now, but I'm going to get into this because, this is a lot to cover. It's actually a lot to cover. Comfrey root has a myriad of benefits because it contains various chemicals that can do a great amount of good in your body, again, with balance and moderation. But just one second, I'm going to go ahead and pull that scripture up. Actually, you know what? I'm already on it, so I'll just get it. It's Job 13:4. But ye are forgers of lies. Ye are all physicians of no value. So again, the Bible talks about all these things that we encounter today. Just because everything seems to have a new shiny coat of paint doesn't mean that the edicts and principles of old no longer apply. But again, let's go ahead and get into this. So what we're covering today is comfrey root. What I utilize myself is comfrey root extract. It's basically a concentrated form of the active ingredients or active compounds in comfrey root concentrated into a syrup. The brand that I get is Dr. Christopher's comfrey root. It's available on Amazon, and I know certain stores do sell it, but it's going to be highly, it's going to be highly remote of a chance of you finding it in a store like Walmart, Target. For the most part, they don't carry it. They might carry a cream or moisturizer that has comfrey root in it. But for the most part, you're not going to be able to get a pure extract or the pure comfrey root bulk or leaf. But either way, its scientific name is symphytum, and that's actually from the Greek symphys, meaning growing together bones. So the name in and of itself, its scientific name, tells you its function. And it's also known as knit bone. KNIT, as in knitting, knitting yarn, knitting socks, but knit bone. It's something that you could use topically if you have a burn, abrasion, bone break. You can apply it directly to the wound as well as imbibe it in a drink or, food substance. But just to move on, and the common name of it is comfrey, of course, comfrey. And before I really get into the active compounds, there's some important terms to cover because that's going to denote a lot of the I guess, the implied actions. So if I were to say like antioxidant, the word that you need to know is oxidant. Of course, anti is a kind of a prefix meaning against or contrary to. So in this case, you would have the prefix anti and then the word oxidant. What is an oxidant? It's a reactive molecule by way of gaining electrons. So in the body, it essentially, if it reacts with another compound or molecule in your body, it's going to remove electrons, as well as usually by way of removing an electron and a hydrogen or oxygen atom, because those are highly reactive elements. Just to go on, otherwise known as free radicals. So oxidants are also known as free radicals. I'm sure a lot of you, or anybody listening to this, if you have done any type of health research, that's a term that you often hear, free radicals, and it's associated with damage to the body. They are often the result of chemical metabolic processes in the body. So, say like, your cells in your blood, they also need sugar in order to basically live, or your muscle cells. That's actually a better example. But as they metabolize sugar and other proteins and things of that nature, they produce waste. And in that waste, you have things like free radicals. The way free radicals or oxidants function is they basically they function almost like high energy particles going throughout the body. Some are higher than others, of course, because there are different types of free radicals. But for the most part, free radicals have the ability to interact with the structures of your cells, macro and micro structures. Structures like proteins, your DNA, most importantly, because your DNA is composed of proteins. And if in the DNA structure of a cell, it gets damaged by a free radical, and that cell goes on to divide and continue to proliferate, that means the damage that it incurred at that interaction or juncture is going to be inherited by all the subsequent generations of cells that come from that one cell that was damaged. That's why antioxidants are very important, because it helps you maintain the integrity of your DNA in different systems of your body. But to go on, where was I? Okay, they are often the result of chemical metabolic processes in the body. The resultant resultant oxidants can adversely interact with macrostructures found in a cell: DNA, proteins, fats, and lipids. Fats and lipids are the same thing, really. But it can lead to autoimmune disease and other infirmities, because you have to think. So if the DNA of a cell is damaged to the point where the body sees that DNA, because that's actually how your body, that's part of how your body identifies what is part of itself, and that's its DNA. If that structure is damaged to the point where that identification process can no longer be successfully done, your body might misidentify a component of itself and attack it. That's where you get like rheumatoid arthritis. You get all types of autoimmune diseases like lupus, certain cancers, all types of stuff can arise from autoimmune diseases caused by DNA degradation. But just to go on, where we at? And in case you haven't noticed, I lose track really easily. I tend to be kind of scatterbrained. But just to go on, this is why the term antioxidant refers to the positive action of suppressing the oxidation process by way of blocking or intercepting the free radicals themselves. So when you have an antioxidant such as vitamin E or vitamin C, it's going to function by way of catching, almost like, imagine a net catching, a pitch thrown by a pitcher, catching the baseball before it can do any damage to the surrounding area. Well, an antioxidant is no different. It's going to interact with oxidants and oxidative materials and aid in the process of preventing damage from oxidants. You also have the term reductant, and that's just a reactive molecule by way of losing electrons instead of gaining electrons. In other words, it's an antioxidant. So it's commonly found in vitamin C and vitamin E, as I mentioned before. And really, just to kind of tie it together with both terms, it really refers to the balance of the body, because there are chemical processes that need to take place in the body which produce oxidants, but it's the uncontrolled mitigation or lack thereof of oxidants that can lead to disease. That's where you have to have another balancing agent, which is going to be your reductants. And too many reductants can cause problems as well. But that's something that we don't see very much of, considering that reductants tend to be, they tend to be associated with minerals and vitamins and things of that nature. And last time I checked, we can't eat rocks and metals, so it's kind of hard to get a lot of those. Either way, going further into it, these are the compounds that really make comfrey root very, very effective in the body. And I only covered 3 of them. Of course, comfrey root has more substances, but these are the 3 main players. You have allantoin, and then tannins, and then rosmarinic acid. And I'll spell it out just so in case you want to look it up, do your own research. Allantoin is Allantoin. It stimulates growth of new skin. It has anti-aging properties, helps keep the skin hydrated, and reduces scarring. It's found in chamomile, wheat sprouts, sugar beets, and comfrey. I really just did a surface level research on this substance just to make sure it had some studies behind it. But for the most part, this is what I found just on the surface. Of course, it goes a lot deeper than this, so feel free to do your own research. But this is something that you could use as a starting point. Then you have your tannins, and that's Tannins. And this is very common, actually. It's found in a lot of things that we actually like to eat, like black tea, nuts, seeds, coffee, wine, chocolate, and fruit. Tannins doesn't have as many benefits, but it's beneficial nonetheless. It's an antimicrobial and antioxidant, or antioxidative, I should say. So it's also something that's very common, like I said. You really don't have to work to get a lot of this. The real problem is what source you take it from. If you're eating a lot of chocolate, of course, you might have a lot of tannins, but you're going to have a lot of fats and other problems too, not to mention sugar and changing the pH in your mouth and degrading your teeth. But that's going off on a tangent. Just to go to the third substance, it's rosmarinic acid. And it too is an antioxidant and antimicrobial agent. It's also anti-inflammatory. It has anti-tumor properties. It aids in improving memory and brain health by preventing the death of brain cells. It aids in improving sleep. It helps prevent steatosis, or fat cells infiltrating the liver, which inhibits, liver processes. It limits weight gain, and it's found in rosemary, sage, and sweet basil. The location of comfrey is actually quite common. Most of us have probably walked by comfrey root or comfrey plants and not even noticed it. They have kind of a purple tubular flowers, and they're found in North America, Europe, and parts of Asia. Its format options are how you can get it, process it, and take it. It's in bulk, which is just, the raw leaf, whether it's dried, cut up, whatever. The extract itself, ointments, oils, poultices, and powders. Benefits and uses. I went over some and, just with the chemical compounds associated or included with comfrey root, but this is just kind of a little bit more benefits, or by way of benefits. Treats joint pain, joint ligament repair. It aids in that process. It helps in healing skin abrasions, burns. It helps with remediating muscle pain. It actually helps even up to the point if you have partial tears and bruising. Even if you had a complete tear, to be honest with you, I'd be using this stuff because, if it's working with a partial tear, I don't see why it wouldn't work with a complete tear. It also helps with generally pain and inflammation. It also helps with hair loss. Again, that goes with the rosmarinic acid for the most part. Helps with dermatitis, eczema, and diaper rash. Is it edible? Of course, comfrey root is edible, but you have to be careful due to toxicity concerns. Allantoin, despite its benefits, if taken too much of, it can lead to the accumulation of toxic metabolites in the liver. So it can lead to liver damage, thus damaging the overall body. But again, that's where you go into observing and limiting your dosage based on your own discretion. For the most part, rule of thumb that I use when taking Comfrey Root, whatever the dosage says on the bottle that I buy, I cut it in half. For the most part, I take about 4 drops of Comfrey Root extract a day, and I add 6 drops to every bath. And I also have basically a face cream that I make myself. Basically, you can make it out of lotion and extracts that I'm going to cover in my series. But you can make it and apply it daily. And it actually has pretty good effects for the skin and for smoothing out blemishes and things of that nature. But yes, it is edible. It's Comfrey Root, and actually I jumped ahead a little bit. These are common questions associated with these substances, or this substance in particular. Is Comfrey Root safe to take orally? Yes, but with great care. Substances which contain the compound allantoin can, of course, lead to a buildup of toxic metabolites in the liver. This is the primary reason why Comfrey Root is preferably administered topically and in very small doses orally. Again, that just reiterates what I already said. The best way to administer Comfrey Root is to put it on the skin or to put it in the hair, but somewhere where you're not actually putting it in the body. If you're ingesting it, definitely take care and limit your dosage, because it's one of those substances where if you're taking high doses for even a short period of time, it could lead to problems. So again, just be very, very cautious. What's the best method for using Comfrey? It depends on the utility that it's being used for. If you have a broken bone, for instance, applying it topically is going to be great, but you have to also understand when you're talking about a structure in the body that's been broken or impaired, the transport of the substance that you're trying to get to the affected area might be impacted as well. That's where you have, your Comfrey Root baths, where you can add Comfrey to the bath itself. You can also ingest Comfrey. That's where you have your poultices. That's where, the oils, the salves, creams, ointments, and stuff come in. Again, for my personal use, I think the bath is the best way to implement any substance that you wish to incorporate into the body in a limited dose, in a reoccurring dose. That way you can basically take a micro dosing approach and just have an overall stronger body that's resistant to injury in and of itself, and also is more prone to heal itself when it is injured. Are there any dangers to consider with Comfrey? As I said before, it's really just the impact to the liver and the filtration organs of the body. There are other dangers, like taking lots of tannins, but for the most part, you would have to pretty much take a lot of them. And I mean, most foods or plants have tannins in them anyway. Most fruits, nuts, wine, coffee, stuff like that. So, it's one of those things where you would have to go out of your way really to impact yourself negatively by taking tannins. But allantoin, again, is one of those substances, and I keep reiterating this for a reason. It's something that you have to take care to not take too much of. But, essentially that's it. I'm definitely going to come back, and I think next time I'm going to cover bentonite clay, and I'm going to cover the methodology behind administering medicine via the skin, because it is something that I do believe is something that is hinted at in the Bible, by way of like submerging in water, to heal yourself and stuff like that. Hold on, I'm trying to find a scripture. KJV. Because there are instances in the in the Bible where people basically submerged themselves in pools of water, and they were healed. Um, so, yeah, I found it. All praises to the Most High. So, all right, so I'm going to read a little bit of John chapter 5. And it's really just the first 5 verses. I might read down to 8 because it talks about Yahushua actually, healing the lame man. But here we go. So John 5:1. After this, there was a feast of the Jews, and Yahushua went up to Jerusalem. Now there at Jerusalem, by the sheep market, a pool, which is called in the Hebrew tongue Bethesda, having 5 porches. And in these lay a great multitude of impotent folk, of blind, halt, withered, waiting for the moving of the water. For an angel went down at a certain season into the pool, and troubled the water. Whosoever then first, after the troubling of the water, stepped in, was made whole of whatsoever disease he had. And a certain man was there which had an infirmity 38 years. And when Yahushua saw him lie, and knew that he had been now a long time in that case, he saith unto him, Wilt thou be made whole? The impotent man answered him, Sir, I have no man, when the water is troubled, to put me in the pool. But while I am coming, another steppeth down before me. Yahushua saith unto him, Rise, take up thy bed, and walk. So, those of us who are familiar with this understand that, the man was healed by his faith through Yahushua. But that doesn't diminish what was occurring before he was healed. These verses spoke of a pool of water that was troubled by an angel. And when, the first person to submerge after the troubling of the water, submerge in the water, they were healed of whatever infirmity. This lets us know that water in and of itself has a property or an interactive property with the body that we can't just overlook. And administering medicine via water is a very important tool that I think we have at our disposal. But again, I'm going to go into that next time. It has been a pleasure and an honor to share this information with whoever, receives it. And I just want to say, Call Halal Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai Ba'Shem Rakakwadash Tawada Yahweh Wa Yahushai. Amen and Wa'abad Babal. All right, Israel.